Welcome back. America's public school system is betraying our children's future, and that's why we're bringing you our ongoing segment, A Failing Grade. And tonight we're highlighting a school counselor crisis. According to the Education Trust, 8 million students do not have access to a school counselor. And according to the American Journal of Psychiatry, 1 in 5 kids need mental health support, but 80% of them aren't getting it. But one high school student in Utah is trying to change that. Avery Kane is pushing to get a counselor in every school, and she joins me now. Avery, welcome to the show. Talk to our viewers about how bad the mental health crisis was in your school that caused you to get involved. What were you seeing?
In my school, we've noticed that there's a lot of mental health issues, especially within our teenagers and our 6th grade students. Through the survey called the SHARP survey, which we give to 6th, 8th, 12th, and 10th graders, we found out that the 6th graders are really struggling because some of them only have half-time counselors and some don't even have any.
So you're specifically working to bridge the gap to get more counselors in schools. Talk to us about how you're doing that.
My coalition, which I'm a part of, the Weaver CTC, we've gone to Washington, D.C. and talked to senators there and legislators. And we've also held stakeholder dinners for the members of our community. And we've talked to them about what we're seeing within our schools and telling them how they can make a difference.
So what are you saying? I mean, why do these kids need counselors so badly?
I'm pretty sure it's because of COVID. And through the SHARP survey, we've also learned that there's a very low commitment to school throughout these young kids. And there's also antisocial behaviors that are being
And so what does that look like specifically?
It basically just looks like kids not wanting to show up to school, them having no friends at the school that they can go hang out with, because that's the real reason that a lot of people want to go to school. And kids just don't want to get out there because they would rather stay inside and watch a TV.
So as you mentioned, you were in D.C. Just at the end of last year. You actually received an award at the White House. Do you think that you are essentially helping create a playbook for other states to help solve this counselor crisis?
I definitely think so. I think Utah is a really big influence because we're so family-based here. And I think that a lot of states can piggyback off of that.
And do you think that it needs to be students who are rising up like you to solve our education problems?
Yes, absolutely. Because legislators, they don't really want to talk to the adults. They want to talk to the kids because we're the ones actually seeing what's going on.
All right, Avery, a trailblazer. Nice to talk to you. Well, let's continue this conversation with Dr. Dan Bober, a child psychiatrist and chief medical officer at Odyssey Behavioral Healthcare. Dr. Bober, welcome to the show. We just heard from Avery there, an amazing high school student, talking about some of the situations that she's finding her fellow students in. How dire is this situation for kids? Do you feel like students' lives are at stake here?
You know something, Lindsay? Avery is a mental health warrior and a future leader. She's going to make changes to the world, and everyone's going to be watching. You know, this is really serious, okay? We know that 20% of kids have serious suicidal thoughts, and 10% of them have actually attempted suicide. So if the pandemic taught us anything, it was that this was not the fire, it was the alarm that told us the fire was there already, okay? So we know that the schools are social anchors in society for emotional, social, and academic well-being. So 464 to 1 is the current ratio of school counselors to students, and we know it should be about 250 to 1 according to the American School Counselor Association.
That's a big deficit. So what kind of impact can it have on someone not to have access to a counselor?
Well, we know, for example, that kids will often present with mental health symptoms in the schools, which is why during the pandemic we saw increased rates of abuse, depression, attentional problems. The school serves as a vital backbone to our society, and without it, things fall by the wayside.
You know, we've seen parents rise up all over the country after COVID, calling for the education system to get fixed. But now we see someone like Avery. What do you think needs to be done? Does it need to be more students like Avery to really get the attention of the country?
Well, Avery is certainly a trailblazer, but not everyone is like Avery. We need to get involved as a society. We need to place a tremendous emphasis on this so that we can protect the emotional well-being of our kids, because we are definitely failing in this area. the whole world cannot be solved by a bunch of Averys. We as a society have to make this a priority, and I think it has to do with increased funding. It has to do with prioritizing. There's also the issue of most counselors require a master's degree or higher. So maybe we need to look at different ways of training them so that they don't require a master's degree, which would improve the workforce situation. So I think there are things that we can do: loan repayment, tax incentives. These are all things we can do.
You know, there are some states like Florida who are considering bringing in chaplains to solve the counselor crisis. Do you think that could be a solve here?
I think faith-based solutions are another way to go. It really depends on the state and what they want to do. But I think the most important thing is that the kids are really suffering, and many of them are suffering in silence. And so I think we need to have these counselors. They are in the trenches. They are the frontline warriors that can really help bring out these mental health problems. You know, we talk about school shootings all the time. School counselors can serve as an early warning system to say, hey, Johnny is really suffering. He's not doing well academically. He's withdrawn. He's isolating. He's showing up. He has poor hygiene. We need to do something immediately. And without that early warning system, things slip through the cracks.
Unfortunately. Dr. Dan Bober, good to see you. Thank you.